Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over NFL Week 18. First things first, make sure you give this video a like, hit subscribe, give a follow over on Twitter, over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever there's social media. There is a Stats and Stacks podcast. Both locks hit last week, and that is what is important. But Week 18 is a gauntlet, man. There's games that matter, games that don't matter, players sitting, players playing through adversity and pain. There's stuff all across the board. A lot of people try to just stay away from week 18. And honestly, I try to as well. But some spots, I mean, the professional gamblers are they love week 18. They thrive in week 18. It's just a matter of knowing who's in, who's out, who has something to play for. Things like contract incentives are really important. It's just a really, really tricky week. And it's kind of tough to navigate. So we're just going to have to talk through it and try to figure out what to do. Just a reminder, no Thursday night game this week. That's another part of the week 18 just week. It's just craziness the entire time. So no Thursday game, no Monday game, but there are going to be two games on Saturday and a whole slate on Sunday. So let's go ahead and let's just jump into this. Sorry, they're having a little bit of technical issues, hence the late start, but we are good to go at this point. So, very first game of the week. We are looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. However, the Steelers are 3.5 point favorites, over under sitting at 35.5. And this is part of that Week 18 narrative. You're not going to see Lamar Jackson. You're not going to see much of their offense. Their defensive starters, I don't know if they're going to sit Pro Bowlers like Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith. Like, I don't know who on the Ravens is actually going to play. They have the one seed bye locked up, so playing any of their starters doesn't really make any sense. Steelers, on the other hand, are playing for their playoff lives. So they win this game, they're still in contention. They need a hiccup from Jacksonville or Buffalo, and they're in. So the Steelers are going to play all their guys. The thing is, the Steelers aren't good. That's the problem. They're still playing Mason Rudolph at quarterback. You have George Pickens, who's been exploding, but he's not. I really don't believe he's that good. He's very explosive, but he's also temperamental. So even maybe the backup Ravens, I mean, it's in division. They're used to them. Then Trevor Huntley has had a lot of playing time. There are some backups where you're kind of concerned, and there are other backups where you're just they're some of the premier backups in the league, and I think that's Trevor Huntley, man. I think Trevor Huntley's one of the top. He can. He's B string Lamar. Like he can do the same stuff. They don't have to change their play style at all. He has a lot of experience. Lamar missed a lot of games last year, and Huntley stepped in, has playoff experience. Like Huntley's a great backup. So the 3.5 actually scares me. I'm going to take the Ravens at home. Mainly because of that half point. Can Pittsburgh win this game? Absolutely. But do I think they win by more than a field goal? I don't know about that. Not even against the Ravens backup. So I'll take the Ravens to cover. And then, of course, DFS doesn't really matter as it's a Saturday slate. Next game, we have the Texans, and I would take the over, actually. 35 is way too low of a number. 35.5, actually. They can score 36 points collectively. Next game, we have the Texans versus Colts. It's another playoff implication game. This line has gone back and forth. It was Colts +1, Colts -1, Colts. It's been a straight pick 'em. Right now, Houston is the road favorite. Win and you're in this game. The loser is out. The winner's in the playoffs. This is a pretty pivotal matchup here, hence it getting the 8 o'clock start time. I don't know, man. It's going to be a really good game. Not really great defenses at all, but great offenses. I will say Houston's probably the better team. The Colts are the more experienced team. I'll go ahead and take Houston. I'll agree with Vegas. I'll take Houston. The 47.5, you just always bet the Colts over. It just always hits. So I don't hate the over for it. It's a high number at 47.5, but I don't hate it. And yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll take Houston. CJ Stroud played in the college again. This is college, but the college football playoffs against Georgia, one of the toughest defenses with nothing but NFL talent, and he went nuclear. So he's good in high pressure situations. I think he gets this done and then probably struggles a little in the playoffs. So I'll take Houston here, and the over as always. All right, next game is where we get into some where there's nothing to play for. The Browns, if they lose this game, are going to be the 5 seed. If they win this game, they're going to be the 5 seed. They literally have nothing to play for. They're going to be in Cincinnati. So at the end of the day, Cincinnati 7 point favorites because the Browns are sitting everyone. They've already declared that they're sitting Flacco. Amari's not going to play. Elijah Moore's not going to play. Myles Garrett isn't going to play. I don't know how many of their corners are going to play. Like no one's playing on Cleveland. The Bengals, Jake Browning Bengals, they're not the worst. I don't know if T. Higgins is going to play. He has some injury concerns as well. If T. Higgins is playing, I'm all in on the Bengals. I don't know if I like 7. That's still a high number. It's all gonna be on T Higgins. And you know what? No, I'll take the Bengals to cover. We'll take the 7 with the Bengals. We'll eat the chalk. DFS wise, I guess you can start mixing because he is in a contract year. Because they only brought him back for 1 year, I'm pretty sure. So at that juncture, you can start mixing, and I'm not starting anyone else. If you want to play with these defenses, you can. If you want to play the Bengals D against God, DTR is on IR, so that just leaves PJ Walker. If you want to start the Bengals D, you can, but it's mixing Bengals D, and that is it in DFS. Next game, we have the Minnesota Vikings going up against the Detroit Lions. Lions are 3.5 point favorites at home because Dan Campbell is pissed off about how that Cowboys game ended, and he said he's playing his starters. And you know what? He did last year. I believe him. I think he is going to play his starters at least for a half. And that may be all they need going up against Nick Mullins and the Minnesota Vikings. Over under at 45.5. I'll take the over just because Nick Mullins is freaking crazy. He can throw some. He just has a YOLO attitude. Can lead to a lot of pick sixes. Can also lead to some crazy touchdowns. So I like the over, and I like the Lions to cover the 3.5. In regards to fantasy, the Vikings need to win this game to stay in playoff contention. So it should be a shootout. I like the over, so I like Justin Jefferson. I I like. Uh, I like Justin Jefferson. Honestly, that's probably about it on the Vikings side. In regards to Detroit, I think they play. I don't know if they play the whole game. So I am a little concerned playing someone like Amon Ra or Montgomery or Gibbs. I don't know if they're going to play the whole game. This might be one of those tricky spots where I end up or something like that. He probably plays. I know it's a tricky one. I like the over. I like the Lions. But I really just like Justin Jefferson. And honestly, someone like Khalif Raymond or Josh Reynolds or something like that, if you want to run it back on the other side, because they'll ultimately play the whole game. All right, next game, we have the Jaguars going up against the Titans. Jaguars are 5 point road favorites. This is another one with playoff implications. Over under sitting at 39.5. I'm going to take the under. Sounds crazy, but it's in division. I think it's going to be stifling, and I think the Titans are going to get the job done. I think they cover. I honestly don't mind their money line. Jacksonville's banged up at the worst time. Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence is going to be 50% of what he usually is. Christian Kirk is trying to make his way back. I just don't think he's going to make it back in time. Zay Jones is banged up. Just everyone on their defense is banged up. The Jaguars are not a bad team, but they just got injuries at the worst possible time. If they lose, they're out. If the Steelers and Bills both win, so this is a must-win for them. In regards to the Titans, I don't think Will Levis is going to play. I mean, he got carted off the field last week. He does. He's tough. He plays through a lot of stuff, but Ryan Tannehill is a serviceable backup. So I think they're just going to ride with Tannehill, who already knows the offense. He was a starter to start the season. And that's a good backup to have. Like Huntley, if you have Tannehill, you're perfectly fine. You have Derrick Henry at home, probably in a swan song. They'll probably run him to the ground. Now, don't get me wrong. The Jacksonville Jaguars still have a pretty stout run defense. It's their pass defense that can be exploited. So that does concern me a little if they try to just run Derrick Henry to the ground. But they also have this man, DeAndre Hopkins, who needs like 60 yards and 7 catches to get another like $2 million with his contract incentives. So if you think he's not going to try to get that, you're high. I think they're going to pepper Hopkins because of the incentives. And that's how you beat Jacksonville, through the passing game. So I think them trying to help D Hop is actually going to help them win the game. And they're also, again, division rivals. They don't want to see Jacksonville in there. They would love to play spoiler, and they're at home. I think this is a prime Titan spot. Again, I definitely think they cover, and I honestly think their money line is live. I think they can win this game outright. So I'll take the Titans, and I'll take the under, though. I do want to take the under. DFS wise, I'm starting D Hop, and that is it. I'm not starting anyone else. All right. You can start ETN if you want. Titans' run defense hasn't been what it was to start the year, but for that price, no. If you want to, you can. But I do love D Hop and DFS this week. He's a must start. All right, next game is another one with no implications at all. Jets versus Patriots does absolutely nothing for nobody. New England 2-point favorites. They should be. They always beat the Jets. Over under at 30.5. It should be low, and the under probably hits, to be honest with you. Bailey Zappi is probably better than Trevor Siemian. That's about all we got. I know he's throwing into the Jets D, but I don't know how motivated they are right now. The Jets just want the season to be over. So I do think the Jets are alive, but I think the Patriots are the better team. And yes, it sucks that Bailey has to throw into the Jets D. And he's very turnover prone. However, Trevor Siemian's also throwing into the Patriots D, and the Patriots D is still a pretty formidable force. So I'll take the Patriots. I'll bet the under, and I think it's just going to be a really sloppy game with nothing to play for. Next game, there is some on the line. We have the Atlanta Falcons going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 3-point favorites, over under at 42.5. I'll take the over. These Saints games has been hitting over as of late. In regards to DFS, Saints run defense has been bad as of late. It's been pretty bad, and all the Falcons want to do is run. Whether it's Bijan, whether it's Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson, it's not a lot of Bijan. Unfortunately, they have Arthur Smith, but at the end of the day, they love to run the ball, and they kind of have to because Desmond Ridder is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, so they have to run. The Saints bad run defense. It's a pretty interesting scenario here. On the other end, you have Olave, you have Raheem Shaheed. Kamara was banged up. I don't know if he's gonna play, but this could potentially be for the division. I don't think it is. But if the Buccaneers fuck around and lose to the Panthers, this game is for the division. So it's going to be going on simultaneously. All these guys are going to play their starters. So again, you can Falcons D isn't that great. So if you want to play like an Olave, you definitely can. If you even want to start like a car, you can. And on the Falcon side, just start Bijan. I know it sucks. I know it sounds gross, but I mean, they're playoff. Arthur Smith is going to get fired unless he makes the playoffs. So if he's ever going to use his actual players, this is the time. So I like Bijan. And I like the Falcons here. I think they're live dogs. I think they cover. I honestly just think they win the game outright. So the pick is going to be Atlanta. The bet is going to be Atlanta. All right, next game. As aforementioned, this game is also for the division. If the Bucks win, they get it. And I have a Bucks to win division bet placed at the start of the year, and I had the Panthers had the worst record bet at the start of the year. So one of these came through, and now they're playing each other. Come on, Bucks! Panthers are the worst team in the league. I'm not hedging. I'm taking the Bucks here to win this game. 4.5, not enough points. I know they're on the road. I know Baker is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but we saw Mr. Hyde last week. Let's bring Dr. Jekyll back and let's see comeback player of the year Baker do his thing. So I will take Baker, the Baker-led Bucks at 4.5, over under 37.5. I don't know. That's a weird number. I'll take the over, I suppose. I guess I'll take the over. And then in regards to DFS, again, this is a must win for the Bucks. You start Rachaad White. For the love of God, start Rachaad White. Panthers are the worst run defense in the league. Rachaad White has been averaging like 20 points a week. Start Rachaad White. Also, if you want a guaranteed touchdown, start that man, Mike Evans. He's a bad man. The dude cannot help but score. Even if he doesn't want to, he accidentally scores. So start Mike Evans. Start Rachaad White. If you want to stream Baker, you can. Just start all your Bucks against the Panthers. The Panthers D is atrocious. Like it's very, very, very bad. Right, next game, we have also Jonathan Mingo is out, so Adam Thielen may get hyper targeted. So I don't hate Thielen on the other side. If you want to run it back, if you want to go Evans, and you even want to do like a mega stack and have Baker, Evans, and Chris Godwin or K. Dotton and run it back, I would run it back with Thielen if you had to. All right, next game. We have the Chicago Bears going up against the Green Bay Packers. Packers are 3-point favorites at home, over under at 43 and a half. And I'm going to go ahead and take the Bears in this matchup. That Bears defense since the trade deadline has been something else. You can't run on them. And the Packers love to run. Their wide receiving core is banged up. There's probably not going to be a Jordan Reed. Jaden Reed. In regards to Christian Watson, he's supposed to come back, but you never know what's going on with that man and his hamstrings. He has the worst hamstrings in the NFL, so I'm not trusting that. Romeo Dobbs is an okay option, but he doesn't get a lot of separation often. So I don't know, man. If Romeo Dobbs is your one, you have Jalen Johnson just shadowing him. Who is he going to throw to? And you can't run on the Bears. So I think this is a setup spot. Bears, their biggest rivals are the Packers. They're ready to foil their playoff hopes. So I will take the Bears because they do have something to play for. And that over under at 43 and a half. It's scary to say because Justin Fields is just as volatile. But I'll take the under here. I think this is going to be a defensive struggle. I don't think this is going to be a Fields crazy game. So I'll take the under 43 and a half. But I do love the Bears as live dogs. I think the Bears money line is very, very live. And then DFS wise, you can always start. The Packers D has been terrible. Like it's been really bad over the last like 5 weeks or so. So if you want to go with the Fields more stack, you can. Otherwise, Khalil Herbert has seemed to be the guy as of late as well. So it sounds crazy. If you want to get cheap, you can start Herbert. If you want to start DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, like the usual suspects for the Bears, you can. Justin Fields could go crazy. So it's weird to say I'm going to take the under, but I do like some of their players on a DFS standpoint. It sounds weird. I just think it's going to be a one-sided shellacking. All right, next game we have the Denver Broncos going up against not the Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders. We have the Raiders as 3-point favorites. I agree with that. Over under at 38 and a half. They're all so low this week. And I'm agreeing. I'll take the under. Stay with the trend of that's been going on all year. I'll take the under. But I do like the Raiders here. Neither team really has anything to play for, so I'm kind of avoiding this one on a DFS standpoint. I doubt Josh Jacobs plays. So if you really want to play Zamir White, you can. And that is about it. I'm not starting anyone else. Literally. I might start the Raiders defense against Jarrett Stidham. I think that's a good play. But Raiders D and Zamir White, if you want to even combo those together, that's not a bad stack. And I would just leave that alone. I'm not touching anything on the Broncos side. Then that takes us to the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the New York Football Giants. Eagles are 5-point road favorites, over under at 41 and a half. Eagles do have something to play for. If they win this game and Dallas loses, they are the 2 seed and they win their division. However, the Giants played them tough last week or 2 weeks ago. I want to say was it the Christmas game? Giants played them really tough. Tommy DeVito got benched. Tyrod came in and they looked crazy. Five's a lot, especially for the Giants at home. I'm going to take the Giants to cover. I think the Eagles win the game, but I think it's a field goal game. I do not think it's them by 5. In regards to DFS, Eagles need to win. So you can start Hurts. I'm sure he'll get a tush push in because his receivers and running backs love getting tackled at the 1. DeAndre Swift has looked bad as of late, but the Giants are a run funnel. You can start Swift here. AJ Brown was banged up. Devontae Smith isn't going to play. If AJ Brown is in, you can start him. He might go nuclear as their only option. Maybe even someone like Julio Jones if you want to get really, really cheap and creative. But what I do love is Tyrod throwing to Slayton. When Tyrod's in, Darius Slayton goes off every single game. They throw the same fade route over and over and over again, 30 yards down the field. Like they do this repeatedly. So with Tyrod in, I love Darius Slayton here, especially against that Eagles secondary, which is atrocious. Again, it is the same route every single time. But Tyrod and Slayton have this thing down to a science. So I love Darius Slayton in this matchup. Eagles' run defense has been questionable as of late. So obviously Saquon is always live, but honestly, my eyes are on Slayton right now. And Waller. Tyrod does kind of rely on the tight end a little. So I love Waller. I love Slayton. If AJ plays, I love AJ and I like Swift. Those are the ones I'm kind of going with. And you can always start Hurts for a tush push touchdown. Next up, we have the Seahawks going against the Cardinals. Seahawks are 2.5 point road favorites. Seahawks also have something to play for. They're trying to get into the playoffs. Cardinals have been playing spoiler to everyone as of late, and this Cardinals team with Kyler Murray is a different team. Like, he's a good player, and they're at home. James Conner is going nuclear the last few weeks. But the Seahawks have a really tough run defense. I really, really, really wanted to go Cardinals, but I am gonna have to take the Seahawks here because if they take Connor out, I don't know like what Kyler's gonna be throwing to Michael Wilson and Trey McBride, which could work, but I'll take the Seahawks to cover here. Mainly because on the other end, Cardinals run defense isn't great, and Kenneth Walker has also been putting in work as of late. And then obviously they have Lockett, they have JSN, they have DK. Gino's been playing fine, and this is another incentive, man. Gino to make the playoffs gets paid like double. So, yeah, Gino's going to do everything he can to try to make the playoffs. He's going to try to make it on him, and I think they do it. So I'll take the Seahawks 2.5 over under a 47.5. I like the over. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think the Seahawks come out on top. The 2.5 is what sways me. If it was 3.5, I might lean Cardinals. But the 2.5, all they have to do is kick a game-winning field goal, and they're in. I like that, so I'll take the Seahawks there. Next game, we have the Chargers going up against the Chiefs. Chargers are 3.5 point favorites over the Chiefs. You're not misreading that. It's because the Chiefs are sitting everybody. They're going to be the 3 seed. They're not. They can't go up to the 2. They can't go up to the 4, or can't go down to the 4. They are locked in at this 3. So Mahomes is sitting. You're going to have, I think it's Blaine Gabbert. You're going to have Pacheco's probably going to sit. You're going to have like little Michael P. Ryan is probably going to end up being the starter. Chargers run defense is terrible. So if you want to start with Michael P. Ryan, you can. It sounds weird. Receiving wise, I don't know who they sit because they don't have starters. You can't sit starters if you don't have starters. So I guess Rashee Rice and Kelsey are probably sitting, but I don't know who else is. Chargers side, you're going to have Easton Stick again. I think Eckler, he signed a 1 year deal, so he's going to do everything he can to get paid again. So I like Eckler here. That's about it. I really don't like any of the passing options. No, no, this game is gross. 3.5 to the Chargers. Blaine Gabbert has experience. That's the thing with these backups. If they have playing experience, they don't scare me as much. So I don't know who he's throwing to. I'll take the Chargers. I don't feel good about it. I'm probably avoiding this one at all costs. Over under at 35.5. I might just like the under the best, to be honest with you. I think it's a low scoring, very boring game. Okay. Next game, we have the Rams going up against the 49ers. 49ers are 4 point favorites at home, over under 40.5. You would say, hey, aren't the 49ers sitting their starters? Yeah, they are. Brock Purdy's not going to play this game. CMC is officially not playing this game. I doubt Debo or Ayuk are going to play this game. Kittle's probably not playing this game. Who knows on their defense? Like Nick Bosa is probably sitting. But the same can be said for the Rams. We are going to see Sam Darnold versus Carson Wentz in 2024. They're not going to play Puka. They're not going to play Cooper Kupp. They're not going to play Kyren Williams. The thing with the Rams are they're a good team, but they're very thin when it comes to depth. And all of their players have a tendency to get hurt. Puka's missed multiple games. Kupp has missed half the season. Aaron Donald gets hurt all the time. You have Kyren Williams gets hurt all the time. Like, why start these? Stafford gets hurt all the time. Why start these guys if they have a propensity to get hurt? It makes no sense. I know they can drop. They'll go from the 6th seed. Right now, they're slated to go into Detroit and play the Lions, which I think is a winnable matchup. If they lose this game, they might have to go to Dallas. That's a tougher matchup, but you want your starters. So they're going to sit. 49ers are going to sit. This is a gross game. Want no part of it. 40.5 is egregious for Wentz versus Darnold. So I'll go ahead and I'll take the under there. Picking a side, gun to my head, I'll take the Rams. I'll take the 49ers. They might just try to run it down their throats. Like, they still have good backups. Elijah Mitchell. They have what is it, Jordan Mason. They have guys that can just run the ball. And the Shanahan offense, I don't think it matters who's there. They're gonna do their thing. So let's say Darnold's not the worst. I'll go ahead. I'll take the 49ers to cover. All right, next game, Cowboys versus Commanders. This one's really gross. Cowboys 13-point road favorites. Absolutely not. They're playing outside on the road. 13 is way too high of a number. I know we give too much of a narrative in regards to the Cowboys playing on the road and playing outside. It is a thing. They're much better at home. It's just a fact at this point. However, the Commanders are bad. The Commanders are not a good team. So I do think Dallas wins, but this 13 when they when they seem to struggle on the road against an in-division opponent, that number is ridiculous. I'll go ahead and I'll take the Commanders to cover. Cowboys win the game, but the Commanders to cover 13 and a half or 13 all day. Give me the Commanders and the points. In regards to DFS, you can always start the Cowboys D against Sam Howell because Sam Howell has to start. Sam Howell will give you a pick six. Like this, it's written in stone. And then he's gonna have to play catch up. I just don't know who he's playing catch up with. Is it McLaurin? Is it Dotson? Is it Curtis Samuel? I have Logan Thomas. I have no idea. I don't really want to start any of them. I would just probably start the Cowboys D. I don't maybe Pollard. It's just a weird game. I think the Cowboys only play for like a half, and then I think they put their starters in like before. So I don't think you get a whole 4 quarters with the Cowboys. I really don't want to start any of them outside of the defense. And then that takes us to the main event. We have the Bills versus Dolphins. Bills are 3-point road favorites. That's gross. Dolphins are banged up right now. Over under at 49 and a half. Yeah, man. Xavier Howard's probably not playing. Jalen Phillips is out clearly with a torn Achilles. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL last week. Jalen Waddle is questionable, but I don't think he's going to play. He had a high ankle sprain. Like I doubt he plays. I have no idea what's going on with Raheem Mostert. And then Tyreek Hill's house is on fire. There's a lot of stuff going on in Miami right now, so I get why the line is where it is. I hate that this is such a pressure cooker because the Bills could either be the 2 seed or they could not make the playoffs. So this is frightening. It's a very, very scary game as a Bills fan, and it's the last game of the year. So I'm going to have anxiety the entire time. I'm going to have anxiety from now until Sunday night. So it is what it is. I'm a loyal Bills fan. I will take the Bills here, especially under all the circumstances the Dolphins are under. It's unfortunate. I'd rather just beat them at their healthiest, but they are banged up, and with all that speed usually comes injury. So you want to talk about how fast the Miami Dolphins track team, but whenever you have a whole bunch of fast guys, they're more susceptible to pull hamstrings and get hurt, and that's what we're seeing in Miami. Also, their line is bad right now. Like their line is really banged up. So I don't know, man. I'll go ahead. I'll take the Bills to cover. It's only 3. I'll take the Bills to cover, even though they're hit or miss all season. They play to the level of their competition. Now the Dolphins are a good team, so you would think the Bills play well. However, the Dolphins are a banged up team. So do they like go in with a mindset we're going to kill these guys because they're hurt and don't play up to their level? I have no idea what they're going to do. But it's a winner. It's a must win. So I'll go ahead. I'll take the Bills here. I don't know about the over. I might take the under 49 and a half, to be honest with you. A banged up Dolphins and the Bills like to just hold their lead. They don't run up the score. They score and then they just run the ball and let their defense do the rest. Even though they're banged up, we do not run up the score. So I like the under here, but I do like the Bills by 3. And that's the end of an era. Week 18 NFL season. It's been one hell of a ride. UFC is back next week, thank God. But it's been an up and down season all year in regards to bets, in regards to DFS, in regards to Bills football. It's been a mess, but it's been fun. Let's go Buffalo. Let's get this dub. Let's get the Super Bowl. Let's get it.